first year being a coach for PAC 3, and I learned so much from my student.
I was fortunate enough to coach 3 women of color.
We start with a retreat, and at this retreat, it's 25 odd students who've never met each other that are deciding to go into the woods of Georgia.
It was an experience that was a lot different than what I expected, and just watching people grow and rediscover parts of themselves that they've buried for so long has been really powerful.
I try to role model authenticity and vulnerability by sharing parts of my own story.
Is to empower those who oftentimes feel like outside in their own community.
I need to do some of self-work and some healing work, and that's really been probed a lot by the work that I want to role model and be within PAC 3.
I came from facing insecurities around certain identities and being honest with myself in order to grow. I think that healing process allowed me to be more comfortable in who I am and kind of how I choose to work and navigate as a person.
Healing for me looks like the self-work of reflection, kind of digging deep to figure out where those roots are and why they're rooted there and what planted, and if I like the blossom or if I want to replant it and do something different.
PAC 3 really helped open up things that I know needed to be healed. It helped me reveal different situations in my life so I never sat down and to think about like, wow, that I didn't realize that had an impact on me, but realizing that helped me become a better person at my time at Georgia State, and PAC 3 has been really integral in my growth as a person.
Then how do I share that with others so they can see how that can also transcend and liberate themselves?
So specifically, I had one student, and we would have coaching sessions every few weeks, and there was something clearly heavy on her. And it took a long time for us to work through that, and she talked a lot about her experience with childhood and how familiar trauma is so closely associated with systematic oppression. And so going through that process with her and really like mapping out her life has helped me heal in a lot of ways from my childhood.
PAC 3 had a really good balance for me, learning about how to merge and like meet together my internal state and the external state. So being able to like name and navigate internal emotions of like how I was feeling and like naming the experiences that I was going through in relation to what was happening outside was really comforting to give me this type of like self-awareness and kind of gave me the agency that I had been looking for.
So I think one of the ways that I've seen students change the most throughout this process was definitely during our synthesizing session.
It brought up a lot of topics that we don't really get to talk about in everyday life.
About like some controversial topics, like I remember one being about like abortion rights when we had it, which is obviously a really heated topic.
It was a moment in one of our synthesizing skills sessions that we were talking about Christianity, and I could tell that was a salient identity for her, and people were coming for her salient identity.
The conversations were so rapid fire and there's a lot of back and forth that whatever bubbles up to the surface is likely with that implicit bias.
But being able to have that conversation in like such a safe space was really productive.
And I think just over this whole process, I've seen people begin to reevaluate what disagreement means.
Like this beautiful just like back and forth around challenge and support and openness of hearing other perspectives.
In the last few sessions, they're just like, this is what I believe, and let's talk about it.
Just getting the chance to express how we feel really was integral in discovering what my unconscious biases were, because
we don't always get those opportunities, and that was a really memorable opportunity for me, and like really gave me insight into what some other students were experiencing.
Having the knowledge of what those biases are, then I can further unpack them and dismantle them. But I realize that it's always a process and journey to keep unpacking and keep understanding, because there's no end in the work of like self-work with social justice.
That has been transformative for me as a coach has been to see how lasting the impact has been. So when I started, the program had already begun for about 2 years, and to have alum of the program reach back out and want to be engaged, share about their new experiences. We've got someone that is interning for a senator right now. We had another person that became student body president. Just to see how they've used PAC 3 has been really helpful for me.
So currently I work as a residential assistant for students, and the way I use the knowledge I learned from PAC 3 is I applied to the curriculum for my residents. I work on the language learning community, and at the center is cultural competence. So it's needed for helping students grow in their knowledge of cultural competence while applying what I learned from PAC 3 and sharing it.
I learned a lot about myself that I had not learned before, and being able to apply that and how I'm showing up in spaces, and gave me a different lens of how I interact with people and how people are interpreting me. And so in my job, in my research, in anthropology, being able to say like, this is how people might be understanding what I'm saying or what I'm doing, and this is what I need out of relationships and things like that, has made my life more productive, but also a lot more fulfilling.
I am in the process of owning my own marketing firm, and I really want to consult Fortune 500 companies in their branding messages, so it's more inclusive and we can dispel stereotypes through marketing that accurately depicts different communities.
One word that describes PAC 3, I would say, is conscious.
Transcendence.
Progressive. Transformative.
It's understood.
Beautiful.